Everybody, this is Andre speaking. I'm just decided to record this quick video in order to showcase how to properly set up ECS to leverage those Docker images available for deep learning, and to show what the process look like and how straightforward it is. So the first thing that I wanted to show how to set up is that we need to create a ECS cluster in order to have a training image and also an inference image. But before we create that cluster, we need to set up a couple of things, as you can see here in these steps in this description. And the first thing we need to do is to create a security group. So I'm gonna just use this name, as you can see here, and I'm gonna be setting up those inbound ports for the security group. So let me go there. So here are the security groups. I'm gonna be creating a new one. So that's the name I'm gonna give to that security group. The inbound rule is gonna be the port 80 to accept a request for those images as described here for MXNet. And also we need 8081 as well. 8081, same source, and we can do the same for TensorFlow ports. Sound good? So this is the very first thing we need to do. And then make sure we have the outbound rules as described here, all traffic. So we can create our security group. Let me double check if everything is working as expected. So looks like we are all set. So the next step, according to this, is to create a instance role that will be used by the instance that will be assigned to our cluster. So let me go to the IAM management console, go to roles, create a new role, EC2, next permission. For to make things easier, I'm gonna be just selecting administrator access, but you don't need to do that. If you go to the documentation, there are some more specific for this particular case, but to make things easier, as I mentioned, I'm just going to pick up this. I won't be adding any tags, and the role name is going to be ECS instance role. That is fine. Just created that. And then the next step is to go here, copy this. I'm going to be open up my Jupyter Lab, and then I'm going to be creating a new cluster. So if you take a look here, you're going to find that we have already created a new cluster. So let me refresh this page, and then you can see the cluster that we just created. For now, there is nothing there, and then the next step is to create the EC2 instance that should be assigned, that will be part of the cluster. Then you need to come back to these instructions and just do what we are asking. But before creating the EC2, we need to set up the script that is gonna be used for this cluster. So whenever we start the instance, we need to register that EC2 instance with the agent that runs inside that particular instance, and then that's the command that we need to do. So I'll be creating let me see if I already have that. So we already have that, so I'm gonna just browse that file and to show the things that are inside. So here's the thing, we are all set with the file, and then we have a different one that is for the configuration, the storage, the EC2 storage configuration. We can take a look on this as well. My mapping, and we are all set. So getting back to the instructions, we can just use this command the way as it is. We are back to the terminal after having copied the command to create an EC2 instance to be attached to the ECS cluster. As you can see here, we are using the MA image according to the specification available at the documentation. Just one instance is going to be M5 2x large using the same key, the security ECS security group, and also the instance role we have created, and the script to initialize the instance. And then after running this, we should be able to log into the instance, and we can also access the agent inside the EC2 instance. But taking a look at here, you can see that we just created a new instance right here. So we should see a new one coming up in a few seconds. In the meantime, what we can do to ensure the instance is working correctly is to just open up using the instance ID, going to the EC2, search for that particular instance. That is starting now, and connection to the instance like this. We can open up a new terminal tab, new one, can just double check that the container service agent is just starting up. We should see it working as expected, and once it works, I can see that the agent is working. Can just search for the logs. And as we can see here, the instance is already attached to the cluster. We can go back here and see a new one. Right, so we are all good to move forward to the next step. So the cluster is already created. Then the next one is to create a task definition for this, for the deep learning image. As you can see here, we are using this particular one for a PyTorch training container. So we can just use this file name, going to the Jupyter Lab once again. And that's the file. That is okay. So now that we have used this file, we can go to the instructions as we have here, as I have put together here, and register a new task definition. as this. Then the next step is to create a new task using based on this task definition we just created. Then let's do that. And we should be good to go back to the cluster, which is this one. We can see a task right here that is still pending because we are creating the request. Is initializing the container. We can double click on this and we can see that the cluster is about not the cluster, but the task is about to be created. Last status is pending. Let's wait a few more seconds. In the meantime, what can be done is to create this file for the PyTorch to make some inferences, to run predictions against this image using PyTorch. Let me go back here. Let me confirm. Yes, we have everything here. So the file is already created. Then we can create a new task definition to represent the inference container running on top of ECS. Oh, good. So if we go to the task definitions, we should be able to see two as active, version 1 and version 2. We will be using the version 1 for now. And let me go back to this cluster, see the task. And now we can see that the task is running as we were expecting. Then the next step is to create something called the ECS Services. That is a kind of way to wrap up this task and to expose through a port to be consumed by external clients. And that's what we are going to be doing. So as you can see here, we are creating a new service on this particular cluster. That's a service name. We are using the task definition PyTorch inference version 1, just one instance running on EC2. But remember, we have the option to do that with Fargate as well. And these are all the things we need. Then let me go back to the Jupyter Notebook, create this. Then we can go back to the clusters page of the ECS, and we can go to our cluster once again and see that we have a service that is already active. It's already working. This is the one that we just created. We can drill down on it, click on the service, go to the task. But the task inside this service is still starting up. It should be available in just a matter of a second, as we just did for the previous one, for the training one. Then we've drilled down into the task definitions. We should be able, when it comes up, we should be able to see the IP address and the port that this service is going to be exposed in order to be consumed, to be called by clients for making some predictions against that PyTorch model that we trained with the previous image. So let's wait just a few seconds more. Oh, good. So looks like we are all set for now. The service right here, client EC2 inference CPU. We can go to the task. We can see that the task is running inference, as you can see here. You click on this, expand, and then we can see the two ports that this is exposed. I'll be copying this because we will need that later on. Then the next one I'm gonna be using this is a image recognition model, so I'll be using the flower image and then identify the classes that this model is providing as the output of this inference. So let me download the flower, going back to the Jupyter Lab. Okay, so the next step is to just copy this one and just change the external IP. That is exactly the one we copied from the ECS service page. And we are all good. We were able to successfully run the command against the inference image running on top of ECS for a PyTorch model. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, and see you next time. Thank you.